oldest bridges in China, and we are also going to build a bridge by ourselves. We have curator Chen, who is going to guide us through this journey of the Bridge Museum of Wuhan. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. So now, could you please show us around, since you have the one and only comprehensive bridge museum. So the reason why we say it is a comprehensive bridge museum is because there are, of course, other museums for bridges, and usually they're just focused on one bridge. For example, we have the Hangzhou Bay Cross Sea Bridge. So there is a museum talking about the design, construction, and operation of this one bridge. And there are also some other bridge museums that are more focused on one single section of the river or the range of the river, such as the Gansu Yellow River Bridge Museum. So all the bridges in that museum are actually the bridges over Yellow River. And there are also other museums that are more focused on specific themes, but we have it all, right? Yes, you could say that. So in this museum, with this mural here, you can actually tell that our museum is quite inclusive. We have the ancient bridges and modern bridges and some of the contemporary bridges and a lot of culture and arts about bridges across the world. We also have virtual reality display of the bridges. So by coming to our museum, you can get a lot knowledge about bridges, the history, the technique. What's more important is that we really try to put ourselves on a position from the national level to look at the Chinese bridges and the Chinese bridge making and how we are combining history, the present, China's, and the rest of the world in this big platform. So in that way, we can really highlight China's bridge making. And for every single visitor here, if they're from China, they're going to become more patriotic. So the first section, as we can see, is the origin and the development of ancient Chinese bridges. So if we trace back to the earliest days of bridge, then we could find this was the earliest bridge. So when there's a storm, this tree was blown down and it became a bridge. And we also have the natural bridge, and this is an arch bridge. And sometimes, due to corrosion, you can also find an interesting bridge like this connecting two cliffs, or it's right over this fall. And we also have the sort of original bridge here. Well, you can see that there are so many apes, and these apes were trying to cross the river by holding on each other's hands. And this is exactly how we came to the idea of building an arch bridge. So sometimes we got inspiration from animals, right? Exactly. So prehistorically, we have such bridges, and for bridges with record, it is not necessarily bridge, but actually beams. So in China's canon, Shi Jing, which is a collection of poetry, you can find a lot of records about bridges that were built in ancient times. And this is one of the four most famous ancient bridges in China. Is the Ciaochao Bridge. It has a history of 1400 years. Even today, it is still in service. So it is really the crystal immortalization of the wisdom of Chinese craftsmanship that can be traced back to thousands of years ago. And you can also find this is a very special design because there are some openings that can really help with the flooding. And it is also an arch bridge by design. And this is the Chimichanga painting, which is one of the most famous traditional Chinese paintings. And you can find this is really like a bridge that's soaring. That's almost soaring from the ground and across the river. So it looks like a rainbow. And maybe later on, we can get our hands on building one of these with the model. Wow, that's great. So now we can look at different dynasties and the bridges, such as Ming Dynasty and Qing Dynasty. So we try to follow the thread of time, and we have foreign ancient famous bridges, as we mentioned. We have also some floating bridge. So when building a bridge, we can use the boat to be the beam of the bridge. And just like this, you have many vessels that are connected together, serving as a floating bridge. You can see there is a road in the middle. It's called a Guangji Bridge. It's in Ciaochao ancient city in Guangdong province. So just now, you were introducing as Guangji floating bridge. That's quite special. And this is the Luoyang Bridge in Quanzhou, Fujian province. This is also one of the 4 most famous ancient bridges in China. It can show us the wisdom of Chinese craftsmen thousands of years ago. And you can find we have a lot of piers like this. They are all made of stone. In order to consolidate the piers, in order to reduce the corrosion of water, you have seen a lot of oysters on the wall of these piers. Actually, these are all oysters, right? Yeah. And this is really one of the earliest stony bridge in China. So the reason why there are oyster farming practice here is because they want to make the bridge more solid, isn't it? Exactly. So these oysters can really prevent the piers from being corroded by seawater. And this is the Yudai Bridge. It's a typical arch bridge. And it's in Beijing, in the Summer Palace. And this is one of the earliest form of bridge, which is also taking inspiration from the ape bridge. So when crossing such a bridge, well, sometimes you have a creek that's flowing beneath if the water is shallow, but it is a rather wide river, then you can actually build a bridge like this. And sometimes this kind of a cable connected bridge can really make it rather easy for visitors to go through, especially in some tourist destinations. Exactly. So nowadays, bridges, they have really become one of the attractions in those tourist destinations. Absolutely, you're right. So we have a lot of garden bridges in China. Well, it can really fit in quite naturally in the beautiful scenery. So the bridge in itself contributes to the beauty. We can also look at this side. So this is the place where we can make a bridge, right? So how does it work? Well, we have just seen the Qingming Shanghe Tu painting, Chinese calligraphy painting, and we have this kind of wooden arch bridge. In history, we have some experts on bridge making, and they were writing books. And we have an expert whose name is Chen Xiliang, who invented this kind of bridge, the structure, and it looks like a rainbow. And the Qingming Chinese calligraphy painting was taking inspiration from his work. And by building the bridge like this, we can really reduce the impact caused by the flooding waves. And we can also reduce the beam so that vessels can go through easier. Can we give it a try? All right. We can see that we have the type 1, type 2 of the bridge. Now what we can do is that we can make a type 1 bridge, and a type 2 is really a variation based on type 1. Looks rather complicated, isn't it? Sorry, it all fell apart. So we need 9 sticks. We can find there are some sort of a lock on the stick. And you can find all these grooves. They are on different positions of the stick. And the final step is to put this one under. Oh, it happened so fast. You are almost done. So, according to historic record, it is just like building blocks. It is like a weaving process where you are weaving all these sticks together. Oh, sorry. I messed it up. Let's do it again. So we want everyone in front of the TV to see it clearly. So could you please show it slowly to us?
So dear
friends, if you just opened the live streaming, we are at the Wuhan Bridge Museum to bring to you this tour in this museum. And now the curator is building the bridge for us. It is like waving with all these wooden sticks. So, again. So in that way, you can build a bridge. I can help you. So the most challenging part is the last step, which is to really sort of thrust it up in order to make it into a bridge. So all these sticks are with the grooves on different positions. Careful last step is to push it up. Let's try again. It's so hard. It's my mistake. I tried to help, but I made a mistake by breaking it down. So now it's done, and it's quite solid. So I think maybe we can do another one. Well, actually, you can see how it holds up. Well, you can feel how tight it is. Well, when we were piling it up, we felt it was kind of loose, but now it's really tight, so solid. Now, this is a typical wooden arch bridge. So it's really about this kind of a balance achieved by putting all these sticks together. It's like a waving process. Shall we try another one? Or maybe next time. Because we have even more to show you. We have lots of interactions that we can have with our friends. Well, I may not challenge myself to do this. It's so hard. Now, This is the Wuhan Yangtze River Bridge. Well, this is really typical. So this part is rather contemporary and modern bridges, especially after the Opium War. China's bridge making progressed slowly, and before the foundation of People's Republic of China, many bridges, as mentioned in Sun Yat-sen's national policy, they were being built gradually. And we had a professor, Milo, who is from Germany, and he was a professor at Peking University. So he was leading a lot of teams to try to build this Yangtze River Bridge of Wuhan. But finally, due to political instability and due to a lot of social issues, they never made it work. But after the foundation of People's Republic of China, we finally made it. This is the #1 bridge across Yangtze River. As you can see, the steel-made beam, how it is being connected, and through this cross-section view, it is exactly like when you were on site during the construction of this bridge. You can see all these workers, they were engaged, they were so busy with building the bridge, and this is about the closure of the two parts. You have builders, you have technicians, and you have people that are working on the fillets, and it is a kind of thermal filleting technology that is being used here. So you can see how these beams are being connected with rivets. So this is the rivets process. So what is the thermal rivets process you're talking about? So talking about the thermal rivets, it's about using this stove here. So you have a stove here. You have to heat all these rivets. You have to heat it to 1,205 Celsius degree. And then they're going to squeeze it out with a tool. And then all these workers, they have a plate to really get the rivets that are very hot. And after that, they have further steps. But you have to imagine, because it is incredibly hot, if they didn't get it with their plate, then what's going to happen is someone may get injured. And finally, they use this riveting tool to complete the riveting process. So they're going to put this white-hot rivet into the holes, and they use this pistol-like tool to complete the process. So 1,205 Celsius degree, very high temperature, and so at such a high temperature, they complete this riveting process, right? So as we can see, this is the rivet before the riveting process. So because it is white hot, so the other side can be processed with this gong or this pistol here. So you can find the round shape of one end. So actually the riveting will be molded by this round shape. And there will also be some clearance, and we have to control the clearance to be exactly under 1 millimeter. Otherwise, there will be some space between, and there might be some rusting issues caused by raindrops over time. So we have to prevent that. So in 1956, when we were building this bridge, well, all these workers on site, they were working very hard on the riveting process, but still there were some problems. So sometimes what they can do is to try to examine the work by inserting a very thin piece of steel in order to see whether or not the clearance is really up to standard. And you can imagine with 10,000 rivets like this, especially when China was really lagging behind in terms of industrial production, you could imagine how valuable those rivets are. So we have Mr. Peng, who is the first Director General of our Bridging Bureau back then, and he made a wise decision and a bold decision to actually remove all the substandard rivets from the river and replacing them with standardized ones. And finally, it became such a wise decision because this bridge has lasted for decades, and every day there were so many trains and vehicles going through this bridge, and the bridge is still as solid as it was just built. So finally, this Director General was really receiving an excellent reputation for his persistence in the very best of quality. So for this generation of bridge builders, they were not only very skillful, running through their blood. We have seen a strong sense of perseverance, of seeking the very best quality. So they were so persistent. At the same time, they were creative and innovative in the techniques of building this bridge, and this tradition has really been part of the DNA of the China Real Construction Corporation Bridge Department. Well, you can find a book here. This book was writing about some of the piling technique of this bridge. So previously, when building a bridge, they have to sort of sink some boxes under the river, and an expert from Soviet Union was helping with us back then, and this expert also regard the new technique as an innovative approach. Well, the traditional way is really to sink a box in order to lay all the piles. So this is a monument to really show that the piling technique has worked, and it should be remembered by us. You can also find something else here. For example, we have our chief engineer Wang's scale here, and you can also find this is a illustration which has been reviewed by Chairman Mao of China. So when Chairman Mao came to our bridge, he was flicking through this album of pictures, and he also wrote his famous poetry about this great bridge we have built. It's a beautiful, beautiful language he has put into his poetry, and you can also find this was the Sun Yat-sen suit for the very first minister of rail in China, and he was wearing this the day when celebrating the establishment of this bridge, and this is his speech. He wrote by hand, as we can see here. This is the original. He was wearing this suit and reading from this script. Yes, exactly. In 1960s, he wrote memoirs of his work. And you could also find a 5-page script of about this river. And there were also the translation certificates of the Soviet Union engineers, and some of the work permits of the staff who worked on the bridge making. We have seen many donors. They're very happy to donate their valuable record of history to this museum is exactly when we were building this museum, we already started collecting such valuable materials and recordings, and a lot of experts of bridge making in China, they shared with us in such a selfishless way to donate all of these to our museum.
还说是在武汉长江大桥建设过程中有3个这样的故事：一炸、一铲、一笑。
You can also find some interesting stories. It is about one explosion, and one digging, and one love. So in 1956, there was one fire that really became problematic, and we decided to explode it. And we can also look at what is one love. So when there was a train going through the bridge, journalists asked our chief engineer, Mr. Wang, so why were you not on that train? Because you were supposed to be on that train if you were confident of your bridge. Well, Mr. Wang responded in such a genius way that if you have 2 trains here, and they were running facing each other at the fastest speed possible. And when they discover that they are going to hit each other, and they actually put a brake, and even if there is an earthquake or there is the strongest storm on the river, or there is a huge flood, you will still find this bridge to be intact under so many factors. So that's the reason why he didn't get on the train, because he believed it was no test at all. So we can feel how self-confident, how competent they were as the elderly generation of bridge builders in China. Later on, in China, we built a lot more bridges, especially in 1960s and the 70s. This is the Nanking Yangtze River Bridge, which is the very first self-built combined bridge of China. Something interesting here. I think it's about a diver suit, right? Oh yeah, it is a diver suit. So what does it have to do with bridge making? I mean, for the divers, they are not necessarily the most relevant role in bridge making. They are still quite important, especially when we are making preparations for some basic construction, when we lost our drill, when we couldn't drill further, when the construction doesn't go well. That's the timing when we need these divers to get deep in a river, maybe meters deep, to look at the pier, to look at what's going on down there, to look at the sediments. So this is really one of the divers suits that were being used during the construction of these 2 Yangtze River bridges in China. And this is really different from the regular diver's suit, especially the sports diver's suit. Totally different. This is 80 kilogram heavy, and you have to put 4 people on site in order to put this on the diver. You can also find there are a lot of interesting equipments here. There's a copper shoe, and there are pipes connecting the diver. And you can also find that there's a helmet, which looks quite heavy. So when this diver gets underwater, he couldn't see much, because there are a lot of sands and a lot of muds, sludge, as you can imagine. So in tens of meters deep of such muds, he has to be able to make operations. Sometimes he has to cut through some steel structure parts, or sometimes he has to work on the hoisting underwater. So this could really be extremely challenging, and there's no good vision. It takes years for a diver to be familiar with such working conditions, and it takes a multitude of techniques. So during the construction of our bridge, of course, they are not really one of the most highlighted contributors, but still they are irreplaceable in their own rights. And nowadays, even if we have some subsea robotics, but still we have to rely on human in most cases, especially when there is a lot of sand and mud on the water. You have to rely on human rather than machine. So this is the fencing. In 2016, the Nanking Yangtze River Bridge was being upgraded. We were replacing the fencing. So this was the replaced one. As you can find, this is really the sort of a sturdy cast fencing. And this is really about display the original fencing of that bridge. And this is the manganese or the steaming steel developed by China, because previously we were importing such steel bars, but this was really developed by China proprietarily. And you can also find this is the surface, almost the surface, which is made of concrete. So this concrete is colorful, and nowadays you wouldn't really come across such concrete. And this concrete is lightweight concrete, and it is also with clay in it. So later on, we're going to come to an area which is more cultural and creative based, and there you are going to find something interesting about this Bridge 4. And later on, we can take a closer look. This is the lamp, usually on road, and you can find it looks like a kind of Mongolia flower. So this Mongolia flower-shaped road lamp can really take us back to years ago. So it's almost like a reminder of the past. And this was when the bridge was opened, right? Exactly. So now we can jump to 1980s, 1990s. This is the time with reform and opening up, with everything getting more and more progressive. We have built a lot more bridges in China. Some of them are world-leading in technique. For example, this is the Wuhu Lake Yangtze River Bridge. It's the very first reclined cable bridge, and also it is a combined bridge for both rail and road transportation. It's a quite symbolic one. Some of the records made by this bridge must have been broken by other bridges, right? Exactly. So now, talking about modernization, especially the modernization of bridges in China, you can find the development of China's cross-ocean bridge-making technique has come to be one of the leading ones in the world. Well, this one looks really special. The color, I like it. And you can also find some vehicles here. So it is not only the best looking bridge, it is also the most challenging one in terms of the technique. This is the 6-lane high-speed rail bridge. So it means there must be 6 tracks. Yes, you're right. So you can find 2 lanes are the Beijing-Shanghai high-speed rail, which is at a speed of 300 km per hour. If you go from Beijing to Shanghai or the other way around, this is the must-go-through bridge. And on the sides of the bridge, you can find some intercity lines. So this is really quite technical, right? Yes, exactly, and it looks good. this is really a shiny one. So it's the Xiwan Bay Bridge. So when we were celebrating the 20th anniversary for the return of Macau to China, this is the Xiwan Bay Bridge. It is almost the landmark of Macau. It was built in 2014. People loved it. It's not only creating more convenience for people during commuting. At the same time, its design is quite special. You can see the major tower is in an M shape. It also looks like the number 3. So this is actually the third bridge for Macau. And it is also the initial of Macau, which is M. And it is also the initial of the phrase motherland. So this is really a deeply meaningful bridge built. It was surveyed and designed by Xu Gongyi, which is a master of bridge making in China. It is also a 2-layered bridge. When the upper layer has some traffic jam, or there is a special weather condition such as typhoon. So when that happens, the upper layer vehicles are going to be able to go through the lower layer. And on the Macau dollar, for example, on 50 Macau dollar, you can find the bridge here. So we know many tourists, they tend to go to this bridge to take a photo because this is on the currency. Yes, exactly. So when you go to Macau, you're going to climb the Macau River, and you're going to have an overview of the beautiful bridge of Macau. And this one looks quite different. So previously, those bridges are really going over a bridge or a lake, but this is rather different. We have a lot of valleys, many high mountains in western China, and we are also developing bridge making techniques on that case. So this is really a bridge going over a cliff. This is in Enshi, Hubei province. When it was built, it was the highest bridge in the world. So the height is 560 meters. Later, there was another bridge that was 4 meters higher than this bridge. But this bridge has been there for almost 10 years. So it was the highest for 10 years. And we were using some rockets. Can you imagine that? We were using rockets to really get the cable through some of the mountains, and we were able to build the temporary opening for the bridge so that we can build the bridge. So sometimes we have these technical terms such as the guiding cable, and we have the sort of channels or openings that we need to build a bridge with. So these are all the temporary structures built to construct the bridge. You can see this is a suspension bridge, suspension cable bridge, and there are 2 main cables connecting both sides. So we have a thinner one, which will be sent from one side to the other side. And it's almost like there is another bridge, which is a flexible bridge, and this flexible bridge is for workers to really set up the 2 major cables. And when the 2 major cables were connected, we can build all the steel beams. And after the bridge is constructed, this temporary bridge will be demolished For example, without a rocketing technology, how can we build a bridge like this connecting the two sides? Maybe previously, if we were to build a bridge here, it's almost impossible to have a bridge that can be having such a long span. If we are building an arch bridge, maybe we need to use some rotationary technology or other technologies, but with the guiding cable, we can really do something different. If it is a 600 span, it is almost like a 200 floor tower. If each floor is 3 meters, so we really need to have more advanced technologies such as the rocketing technology in order to make a bridge here. Exactly. So now we are already in the new era of bridge making in China, and this bridge compared with the other bridges, it seems to be a lot longer, isn't it? Yes, you're right. This is also a cross-ocean bridge. So the total length is 16 kilometers. And it was made of 3 bridges. It is providing the pass-through for the Fuping Rail. It's in Fujian province. And this Fuping cross-sea bridge is the very first real sense combined cross-ocean bridge for both rail and road. As you can see, there are 5 islands being connected, and you also have the Dalian Island, which is connected with the Pingtuan Island with this bridge. It's incredibly difficult to build such a bridge, so it has really got close to the limit of possibility in terms of building a bridge. And you can also find that this is also a strait with extreme weather conditions. There are over 200 days that are having 7-degree storms. So it's very challenging to build such a bridge, but we are happy to inform you that a bridge has been built and it has been closed. So next year, it is going to be opened for transportation. This one, well, it really looks like a phenomenon. This is the Macau and Hong Kong and Canton Bridge. This is really an epic-making bridge, which is loved by everyone. It's connecting Zhuhai, Macau, and Hong Kong. And it is also crossing the Lingding-Yang Bay. It is 55 kilometers long. So we don't have enough space for a smaller version of the bridge. That's why we're using paintings, as you can find. So just to put it in a simple way, this is a bridge that can enable sailing beneath the bridge. So such a sailing-enabled bridge is also quite challenging to build. It looks like a sail. It looks like a sail. So this sail-like part, it is called the Ciaochao section, and the Ciaochao section is really sending a message of great navigation conditions. And you can also find the dolphin-like towers here that are showcasing the harmony between man and nature. And for the Hong Kong part, you can find the 2 twin towers that are just like Chinese notes. And it was sending a message of how Hong Kong and Macau are part of China, and we have solidarity among ourselves. So we have already gone through the most ancient bridges in China to some of the world-leading modern bridges in China. It's almost a chronicle of bridge history in China. Exactly. Now we can see some of the rankings of Chinese bridges in the world. What I knew is that for top 10 bridges in China, top top 10 bridges in China, there are 5 that are from China. When it comes to world bridge making, we can see that no matter is the large span suspension bridge, or it is the beam bridge, or is the arch bridge, we have a lot of rankings according to different categories, all the top 10s in the world. Apart from the span and the time of service, we can find that the Chinese bridges are really leading ranks almost in every single category. So over 50% are from China. So it's true that for top 10 towers in different categories in the world, 50% of them and above are from China. Exactly. So when it comes to the World Bridge section, we are presenting the visitors with a screen. As you can find hundreds of bridges up on the wall. If you are interested in any of these, what you can do is that just point your finger at one of them. You are going to be able to learn something about this bridge. For example, what about this one? All right. Now, just choose one you like. Maybe this one. Oh, this is the Dasheng Gate Yangtze River Bridge. And you can also return to the home screen. So it is also supporting multi-touch. So you can have several people operating the screen at the same time. This is the Zhanjiang Bay Bridge. And this is the Shanghai Yangpu Bridge. You can find a foreign one. What about this one? This looks really special. Well, it is the Wangan Bridge in Changsha, China. What about this one? I think it's supposed to be a foreign one. Oh, this is the London Tower Bridge. So many of the prestigious, world-known bridges are also presented here. Yes, especially some of the early ones. What about this one? This is the Brooklyn Bridge in New York. It was really one of the 7 major miracles of industrial age. It was built in 1883. Total length was 1.8 kilometer and the clearance was 41 meters. But this has been part of the past. Today, records are being broken and more materials are being used on bridge making, and when it comes to the landscape of bridge making in the world, we have also put things in time order, starting from the wooden bridge to the stone bridge to the cast iron bridge to the steel bridge to the concrete bridge to steel to the reinforced concrete bridge, etc. So when we are gauging bridges in the world, we are looking at the materials. So we try to follow the time order, in fact, because a bridge making is really an engineering process, construction process. So materials are really important. Previously, thousands of years ago, we were using original materials from nature, and later on, when we come to modern times, more and more hybrid materials are being used, such as the reinforced concrete has been used to make bridge. That can illustrate how modern technologies are making a difference in bridge making. So material really matter. Exactly. And we've also witnessed how bridge making has been progressing across the world. And materials are the best witness, actually. So what about this part? Is this about the introduction of the bridge making process? So this display is a sandbox. As you can find, this is the very beginning of bridge. For instance, all this pier, all these different layers, all these spines of the bridge, and the major tower of the bridge. How do you connect the cable, and how do you run some tests, and how do you do inspections? So this digital screen here is actually correspondent with the sandbox here. So if you look at the pier, which is of more interest to you, then you can look at the steel-made pier, how it is being made, and how does it work on a bridge. And you get to learn how the bridge is made from every single part. So going from this way to the other end, you can figure out how to build a bridge. So it is starting from the parts and the components of building a bridge to the completion of a big bridge. Yes, exactly. We can go along, and you can press the button. So if you press the button here, it is going to go forward, and you're going to find the structure being illustrated by the animations here. So how does a structure serve its function? So for ordinary folks, this is very good as education material, so that we can also learn something about bridge making. It's not only for ordinary folks, for students, for students who are majored in civil engineering in universities. They can also learn a lot from such animations, and they get to learn how the bridges are made. And all these scientific experiments are done in order to work through some of the technical challenges of building a bridge. It's a very good way to illustrate how the gigantic effort can be conducted step by step. So this part is about maintenance and repair of the bridge. Now everything can be monitored in a digital way, isn't it? Yes, you're correct. So you can see some accidents or some damages to the bridge. It's exactly because when accidents or disasters happened, we have to be prepared. We have seen this is a bridge that were blown away by the storm in the U.S., and that's also how aerodynamics became relevant in bridge making. And people were using the wind simulation technologies to make our bridges more sturdy. And you can also look at the central control room. So the central control room has been simulated here. So you can tell how central control is going on. And this is the real-time bridge making simulation. Exactly. So you can look at all these bridges, their conditions during construction. This is about the informatization of bridge making. Everything is getting digitalized. So in our office, we are able to see what's going on with the building of bridges. We can conduct a real-time monitoring, and we can even see all these different details and what the workers are doing on those posts. So it is all visible in the office. So now we are very persistent with the quality standards, and now in order to make sure that we can have good quality at the end, we have to make sure that we are strict with quality every step of the way. That's why we need to have real-time monitoring of the bridge making process. Yes, you're right. So this is a virtual reality experience. If you hold the steering wheel, then it is almost like you're driving on the road surface of the Hong Kong-Macao and Zhuhai Bridge. and you are driving over the Lingding Bay.
是不是有点感觉不大靠谱的感觉？
Bravo.
好的，我们把它。
您的这个右脚呢？
您帮我拿一下。
右脚是油门，
右脚油门。
对，然后左脚是刹车。对。
Wow, it's so dashy,
对，中间这个是刹车。
and you can step on the gas, and on the left side is the brake.
然后我们还可以选择不同的车型。
这个是已经选好了，好像。哦，我好像已经可以直接开始开了。
You can also choose different car models.
哎呀，我要躲开它。来，您帮我拿一下，这好像。
So it's already chosen.
开车好不大合适，这上面还有限速80。其实我现在就相当于是在港珠澳大桥上开车。
对对，咱们可以加这个踩下油门。你看这个还有现在你的。
Oh, I can find some of the warnings, some of the signposts with speed limit. And you can also find seagulls flying over you, hovering above the bridge.
就是它是我是可以通过这个 VR 这个体验，能够一直把车
So as a
开到
driver,
开完整个港湾
maybe you should be cautious when driving on such a beautiful bridge. So with the virtual reality experience, I can drive through the entire bridge, right? You can choose to start from different spots. You can either start from Zhuhai, or you can start from Hong Kong or Macau.
回答问题，看针对跨海工程、低阻水率、水库空气
I'm
交通线
such a
不干扰
bad
外部
driver,
以
so
及行车安全等苛刻要求。
you also
港珠澳
have
大桥
Q&A
采用
here,
了桥岛
so you can
线下
answer
的
some
地
interesting
图测试
questions
其可抵
about the
御台风
bridge.
灾害为多少级？
And you can also get to learn something about traffic safety and traffic regulations. And this one is about what is the magnitude of the typhoon that can be resisted by this bridge. If you are correct, you're going to be rewarded.
这个它其实还是一个益智的一个小游戏，就是您可以
What about 16? So if 16 is the correct answer, I can be rewarded with another 30 seconds of driving here. So there are a lot of amazing tiny games that we can play to know more about our bridge.
20个问题。我为什么
So lots of information about the bridge has been incorporated in these questions. There are 20 questions in total. And if you can answer all these questions correctly, you can drive for quite a while on the bridge. And you can also shift between the different screens.
完了？上面说是限速100，我已经超速，严重超速了。来慢一点，遵守一下交通规则。
So the speed limit is 100 kilometer per hour, and I'm over speeding now. So on the screen on your left-hand side, you can see your speed.
青州航道桥就是相当于是我已经快要驶达这边是香港或者是
So that is the Xinzhou section, the Chinese note tower section.
那这样，比如说
So I'm close to Hong Kong, right?
10分钟，在玩游戏。
If I were to drive through the entire bridge, how long does it take? 10 minutes.
那一定要提醒一下大家，在实际的开车过程当中，一定这样是不对的。
So if you are a fan of racing games, perhaps this is a very interesting one for you.
斜拉桥，全线跨境最大。
But when you are
多少米？
in real life driving on this bridge, please make sure that you are not driving like me,
我还是选
like a crazy driver. So here is a question about the total length of the Chingle River bridge.
让我减时了30秒。
Oh, I got the wrong one. So I tend to choose the longest one, and my driving time was cut by 10 seconds.
我现在只有倒计时35秒了，我肯定过不去。
I'm running out of time. Only 30 seconds left for me. So the next exit will be the exit for tunnel, right? Yes, you're right.
哦，现在我们就要下隧道了。好像在压线呢。倒计时2秒、1秒，时间结束。好的，非常的遗憾，我没有能够尽快的达到对面，但是我觉得大家可以自己来体验一下。自由驾驶还有全桥挑战。哎，我觉得我刚才用的是不是全桥挑战呢？
全桥挑战里面就是说您还可以选择不同的车型。
哦，可以答题，可以选择不同的车型。好吧，在这里一下不小心暴露了
So
女司机的。
just now I was taking on this challenge of driving through the entire bridge.
这边来就是有桥梁结构的。
And I can choose different vehicle models, and I can also answer different questions.
比如说梁桥、拱桥、斜拉桥、悬索桥，其实很多的观众他或者很多网友并不了解这些桥。
Maybe Curator Chen can introduce to us. As you have mentioned, all these different types of bridges, such as the suspension bridge, the arch bridge, or the beam bridge, or the cable stayed bridge. So could you please walk us through the differences between the different bridges? Well, usually it is a categorization process based on the types of, based on the shape of the bridge. So the beam bridge is illustrated through some of the most ancient bridges we have just seen. An arch bridge looks like this. It's almost like a natural. It's like a naturally formed shape. As for suspension bridge, it is the most capable one in terms of having a extremely long span, so it can connect the two sides of a valley or a bay. So these are some of the materials, all sorts of concretes of different properties, and concretes made in different ages. So this is for some of the suspension bridge, and it is a slice of the main cable of the bridge. So this cross section of the main cable is for a bridge with a span over 1,200 meters. It is the Wufengshan Bridge cable. And you have 127 steel wires in it, and you can find a total number of 40,000 wires in this cable. And in this way, we can really increase the load of the bridge. And this is a road bridge, which is a 3-tower suspension bridge. This is the cross section of the main cable, Yangtze River Bridge. So this one. So this is this, right? Yes, it's a cross section, or it's a slice of the cable. If we come here, We have just realized how much we have learned, not only for ordinary folks, but also for students majored in civil engineering. And this part is introducing some of the bridge making associations in the world, some of the forums or distinguished speakers when it comes to bridge making, and some world famous prizes and awards for bridge making. And this is the cinema, where you can see a video of Ciaochao, who is the Chinese name for bridge. And this little guy is going to show you around of all the major and famous bridges of the world. And with today's live streaming, we believe we have already showed our audience a wide variety of bridges. And I like to do a little bit of commercial here. I welcome all of you to our museum to experience everything in person. Well, this is different from the style in the video. This is quite a cartoon-like figurine. Okay, so this room is to present some of the cultural senses of bridge making. We have beautiful poems, and we have stamps of bridges, and some of the souvenirs made of bridge related elements. And if you come to our museum, you are also welcome to take a look around here to see if there's any souvenir that you want to take back home. So I don't know if you still remember when we were talking about the Nanking Yangtze River Bridge. I mentioned there's something something that has become a model that's available in this shop. Actually, this is the model for that bridge. Actually, this is another piece that's showcasing the concrete used in that bridge. It was a replaced part, and when it was replaced, we made it into this beautiful piece rather than just threw it away. So it looks beautiful. It's part of history, and it's a symbol of an era of bridge making. So for this kind of ceramic concrete, it is quite special. It has different colors, and every piece is with a number. So it is with a sequence number, and it is one and only. So it's quite a valuable piece of work. And we also have something that's made of the bridge tower of this bridge. So if we ask for your recommendation in terms of what we can buy here, so what would be your recommendation? For me, I think everything is perfect. They are all quality products, and they are carrying the weight of our Chinese bridge making culture. So they are of different times, and these bridges are printed on the currencies, and these currencies are not used today. They cannot be circulated today, but you can find all the bridges on them. Or some of these are food stamp. They are so well made. And these are all the models. It's copyright product. Exquisite piece of work. So well made. On this side, we can also find some of the creative products. They are of more colors this beautiful scarf is with the image of the Wuhan Yangtze River Bridge. This is the bridge tower, and it's beautiful in color. It is so rich in its meaningfulness, and the color, the design, the style, they all look so beautiful. So maybe this is the must-buy product. Come to our museum and buy it. Every single piece here is really made with a lot of hearts in it. So this is a beautiful ornament. It is with the special color design, and the shape is also relevant with the Wuhan Yangtze River Bridge. So it looks beautiful, and it is also quite useful as a thumb drive. So this is a beautiful thumb drive. I thought it was a tiny mirror. It's a makeup mirror, but actually it's not. It is more like a sort of lanyards that can be put on your clothes. We have some cups here, and we have some freezer sticks here. This is a beautiful fan that is with the imprints of different bridges, and this one is our bridge in Wuhan. Excellent. Now we have already walked through the museum. We'd like to thank Curator Chen for showing us around the one and only comprehensive bridge museum in China. This is in Wuhan, the capital city of Hubei province. If you are a big fan of bridge making, please definitely come here. We also have our presence on social media. You can search for the Wuhan Bridge Museum. You can make appointment for visiting, and we are open from Monday to Saturday. And every day when we are opening for 9 o'clock in the morning and 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So with that, I'd like to conclude this special coverage. Thank you.